Do you know the secret to unshakable peace? Imagine living each day without letting the words, actions, or negativity of others dictate your emotions. Sounds freeing, doesn't it? Today, I'm here to show you how to take control of your inner world so that no one, absolutely no one, can disturb your peace. Are you ready to claim this power for yourself? Life is hard. There's no way around it. People will test you, they'll push you, prod you, and sometimes even revel in seeing you lose control. And here's the kicker. You can't stop it from happening. That's just life. Chaos is inevitable. But what you can do, and this is critical, is decide how you respond to it. You can let it break you, or you can let it shape you. There's real power in that realization, because it places the control firmly in your hands. Most people don't see it that way. They go through life reacting to everything, letting the smallest inconveniences or slights ruin their day. That's not power. That's giving up your autonomy, handing over the keys to your emotions to someone who doesn't even deserve to hold them. Think about this. How often do we let people dictate how we feel? Someone cuts you off in traffic and suddenly you're furious. Your coworker says something dismissive and now you're carrying resentment all day. What is that? It's handing over your peace for nothing, nothing of value. It's reacting without thinking, without pausing to ask yourself, is this worth my energy? And most of the time, it isn't. Most of the time, the things that bother us are insignificant, but we inflate them, we feed them, and we let them grow until they consume us. Why do we do this? Why do we let the behavior of others, often thoughtless and careless behavior, become the center of our attention? I'll tell you why. It's easier to react than to reflect. But the easy path is rarely the right one. There's a story I like to think about, one of Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist who survived the horrors of Auschwitz. He faced conditions so brutal that most of us can't even begin to imagine them. Yet even in the midst of that unimaginable suffering, he came to a profound realization. Everything can be taken from you. Your freedom, your possessions, even your loved ones. But the one thing no one can take is your ability to choose your response. That's the ultimate freedom. The Nazis could strip him of his physical autonomy, but they couldn't dictate his inner world. He decided, in the darkest circumstances, that he wouldn't allow his captors to take his humanity. And if Viktor Frankl could hold on to that kind of strength in the face of such horror, what excuse do we have in our daily lives? Let me tell you, it's not about suppressing your emotions. It's not about pretending that things don't hurt or that people don't get under your skin. No, it's about recognizing those feelings and then deciding what to do with them. Do you let them run wild like a fire burning out of control, or do you contain them, channel them, and rise above them? That's the challenge. That's the test. And every time you choose to pause, to think, to master your response, you become a little stronger. You build resilience, brick by brick, until you're standing on a foundation so solid that nothing can shake it. But it takes practice. It's not something that happens overnight. At first, you'll fail. You'll react when you shouldn't. You'll lose your temper. You'll feel that familiar surge of anger or frustration, and you'll give in. And that's okay. What matters is that you try again. You commit to the process. You train yourself to pause when the heat rises, to step back from the situation and observe it as if you were watching someone else. You said when you do that, you create space between the trigger and your reaction. And in that space, you find freedom. And when you have freedom, you have choices. The truth is, most of the time, the people who provoke you aren't thinking about you at all. They're acting out of their own insecurities, their own frustrations, their own baggage. Their behavior is a reflection of them, not you. And once you understand that, once you truly internalize it, their power over you dissolves. It's like shining a light on a shadow. Suddenly, it's not so threatening anymore. They can try to get under your skin, but they can't succeed unless you let them. And why would you? Why give anyone that kind of control over your life? Think about the kind of person you want to be. Do you want to be the person who's easily provoked, who flies off the handle at the slightest insult or inconvenience? Or do you want to be the person who stands firm, who remains calm and composed no matter what's happening around you? One of those paths leads to strength, to dignity, to respect, both self-respect and the respect of others. The other leads to chaos, to regret, to a life that feels constantly out of control. It's not an exaggeration to say that mastering your response is one of the most important skills you can develop. It's the difference between being a victim of your circumstances and being the architect of your life. And the beauty of it is that it's entirely within your power. No one else can do it for you, and no one else can take it away. It's yours, but you have to claim it. You have to decide, here and now, that you're done letting others dictate how you feel. You're done reacting impulsively. You're done giving away your peace. There's a strength that comes from choosing calm over chaos. It's not weakness. It's the greatest kind of strength. It's saying, I refuse to let you pull me down. I refuse to meet you at your level. I'm better than that. I'm bigger than that. And when you can do that, when you can hold on to your peace no matter what, you become untouchable. You become someone who commands respect, not because you demand it, but because you embody it. You have to understand something fundamental about people. They're complicated, flawed, and often operating from places you'll never fully comprehend. Most of the time, the things they do that upset you have very little to do with you, but we take it personally, don't we? We absorb their words, their actions, as if they were custom designed to hurt us. That's where the mistake lies. Because the truth is, what others say or do is almost always a reflection of their inner state, their fears, frustrations, and insecurities. Once you grasp that, truly grasp it, you realize how pointless it is to internalize their negativity. It's not yours to carry. So why are you carrying it? Emotional detachment isn't about apathy. It's not about saying, I don't care what happens and walking through life disconnected. That's not strength, that's avoidance. Real detachment, the kind we're talking about here, is about understanding where your responsibility ends and someone else's begins. It's about knowing that you don't have to engage with every piece of bait someone throws your way. You don't have to wrestle with every insult, every slight, every judgment. Why? Because their behavior belongs to them, not you. And if you make it yours, if you let it live rent-free in your mind, you're giving away a part of yourself that should remain untouchable. The problem is we're wired to react. Someone says something hurtful, and immediately we feel that spike of emotion, anger, frustration, sadness. It hits us like a wave, and before we know it, we're swept away. But here's the thing. Just because you feel an emotion doesn't mean you have to act on it. That's the first step to emotional detachment. Recognizing that your emotions are not commands, they're signals. They're there to tell you something, but they don't have to dictate your behavior. You can feel anger without exploding. You can feel hurt without lashing out. You can feel disappointment without letting it consume you. And that's a skill. It's not something that comes naturally, but it's something you can develop. Start by asking yourself this: why am I reacting this way? What is it about this person or situation that's triggering me? Because often, it's not really about them at all. It's about something inside you, something unresolved, something vulnerable. And once you see that, you gain a level of clarity that's hard to shake. You realize that the power isn't in their hands, it's in yours. You're the one deciding to react. You're the one letting their words or actions get under your skin. But you can also decide not to. That's the beauty of it. Now let's talk about the people who push your buttons. Some do it unintentionally. They're clumsy, thoughtless, maybe even oblivious to how their behavior affects others. And then there are those who do it deliberately. They thrive on the chaos they create. They want to see you lose your cool because for them, it's a way of gaining control. Don't give them that satisfaction. When you react, you're playing their game. You're operating on their terms. And every time you do that, you reinforce their power over you. But when you detach, when you step back and say, this isn't worth my energy, you take that power back, you take control of the game, and rewrite the rules. There's strength in choosing not to engage. There's strength in saying, I see what you're doing, but I won't give you what you want. And make no mistake, it's not about bottling up your emotions or pretending that things don't affect you. It's about channeling those emotions into something constructive, something that serves you instead of sabotaging you. Because every time you let someone else dictate your emotional state, you're giving them a piece of yourself. And over time, those pieces add up. Before you know it, you're walking around feeling fragmented, disconnected from who you are. All because you've handed over too much to people who never deserved it in the first place. Think about how much energy we waste on things that don't matter. A rude comment, a dismissive tone, a moment of disrespect. These things can linger in our minds for hours, even days. But what are we gaining from that? Absolutely nothing. All we're doing is replaying the hurt, letting it take up space in our thoughts, letting it shape our mood, our actions, our entire day. And for what? The person who upset you has likely moved on. They're not thinking about you, so why are you thinking about them? Detachment is about reclaiming that energy. It's about saying, I have better things to focus on, better ways to spend my time and my emotional resources. Now, this doesn't mean you let people walk all over you. Detachment isn't about passivity. It's about boundaries. It's about knowing where you end and where someone else begins. You can stand up for yourself without losing your composure. You can address conflict without letting it consume you. And that's a crucial distinction. Detachment isn't about ignoring problems. It's about approaching them with clarity and control instead of being driven by knee-jerk reactions. When you detach emotionally, you free yourself from the weight of other people's opinions and actions. You stop giving them the power to dictate your self-worth. You stop letting their negativity overshadow your peace. And that doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care deeply. But you care about the right things. You care about your integrity, your growth, your peace of mind. Those are the things worth protecting. And the moment you prioritize them, you'll find that the chaos of others starts to fade into the background. It's still there, but it no longer defines your world. Purpose. That's what it all comes down to. If you don't have a clear sense of purpose, you're adrift. You're like a ship in the ocean without a rudder, at the mercy of the waves, the storms, and every unpredictable force that comes your way. And here's the harsh reality. Life will throw those storms at you. People will try to distract you, drag you down, and pull you into their chaos. If you don't have a clear direction or reason to keep moving forward, you'll get swallowed by it. That's why your purpose matters. It's your anchor, your guide, your North Star. Without it, you're vulnerable. But with it, you're unstoppable. When you know what you're working toward, when you have a goal that means something to you, the petty distractions of life suddenly lose their power. The criticism, the negativity, the judgments, they don't stick the way they used to. Why? Because you're too focused on something bigger. You don't have the time or energy to waste on things that don't serve your mission. It's not that you don't notice them, it's that they become irrelevant. They're like background noise, barely worth your attention because your eyes are fixed on a horizon that matters far more. Purpose gives you perspective. When you're deeply connected to a goal, you start to see things differently. A rude comment or a dismissive glance doesn't sting as much because you know it doesn't change anything. It doesn't take away from your vision, your work, or the impact you're striving to make. And let me tell you, that kind of clarity is rare. Most people are so caught up in the trivialities of life, what someone said, what someone did, what someone might think, that they lose sight of the bigger picture. They spend their days reacting to every little thing, like leaves tossed around by the wind, never stopping to ask themselves, what am I really trying to accomplish here? And that's the question you have to ask yourself. What's your purpose? What's the thing that gets you out of bed in the morning, the thing that makes all the struggles, all the effort, all the challenges worth it? If you don't know the answer, that's where you start. You have to find it. You have to dig deep, ask the hard questions, and figure out what matters most to you, because once you do, everything else starts to fall into place. The distractions lose their grip, the noise fades into the background, and you become laser focused on what truly matters. It's not an easy process. Finding your purpose requires self-reflection, honesty, and sometimes a willingness to face uncomfortable truths about yourself. It means asking, what do I really care about? What kind of life do I want to create? What impact do I want to have? These aren't easy questions, but they're necessary. And once you have your answers, you have a foundation to build on. You have a reason to keep going, even when things get hard, even when people try to drag you down. Now, here's the thing about purpose. It's not just about you. It's not about what you can achieve or how successful you can become. True purpose is always connected to something greater than yourself. It's about contributing to the world in a way that's meaningful, whether that's through your work, your relationships, or the example you set for others. When your purpose is tied to something beyond your own self-interest, it becomes a source of strength that's nearly unshakable. It gives you the resilience to endure setbacks, the patience to deal with difficult people, and the discipline to stay the course, even when it's not easy. Purpose also simplifies your life in a profound way. When you know what you're aiming for, decision-making becomes clearer. You don't waste time on things that don't align with your goals. You don't let yourself get pulled into conflicts or distractions that don't serve your mission. You start to see your time and energy as precious resources because they are, and you guard them fiercely. Every moment you spend engaging with negativity or pointless arguments is a moment you could be using to move closer to your goals. And once you understand that, you stop giving those moments away so easily. There's a peace that comes with living a purpose-driven life. It doesn't mean the challenges go away, they don't. But it means you face them with a sense of meaning that makes them bearable. It means you can endure criticism, failure, and even rejection because you know they're just part of the process. They're stepping stones, not roadblocks. When you're connected to a higher purpose, even the struggles start to feel like they have a purpose of their own. They're shaping you, refining you, preparing you for what's ahead. And let's not underestimate the impact your purpose can have on others. When you live with intention, you inspire people. You show them what's possible. You become a source of strength, a beacon of light, a reminder that it's possible to rise above the chaos and live a life of meaning. That kind of influence is powerful. It creates a ripple effect, spreading far beyond what you can see. And that's the beauty of it. By staying true to your purpose, you're not just transforming your own life, you're making the world a little better in the process. But none of this happens by accident. You don't stumble into a purpose-driven life. You have to choose it, commit to it, and fight for it. You have to remind yourself every day why you're doing what you're doing, especially when things get hard. Because they will get hard. People will test you, circumstances will challenge you, and there will be days when it feels like giving up would be easier. But purpose gives you the strength to keep going. It's the fire that keeps you moving forward, even when the path is steep and the obstacles feel overwhelming. Without it, you're at the mercy of the world. But with it, you become a force to be reckoned with. Control is a powerful concept, but most people misunderstand it. They think it's about controlling the world around them, other people, circumstances, outcomes. But that's a dangerous illusion. The world is chaotic, unpredictable, and full of variables you'll never fully grasp, let alone control. And the more you try to impose your will on it, the more frustrated and helpless you become. True control, the kind that matters, doesn't come from trying to dominate the external. It comes from mastering the internal. It's about recognizing what is within your power and letting go of the rest. That's where your strength lies, not in controlling everything, but in controlling yourself. When you focus on what you can control, your thoughts, your actions, your emotions, you're reclaiming your autonomy. You're saying, no matter what happens out there, I decide how I respond. That's an incredibly empowering realization because it puts the responsibility squarely on your shoulders. And responsibility, as much as it might feel like a burden at times, is also the pathway to freedom. When you take responsibility for yourself, you stop being a victim of circumstance. You stop blaming the world, other people, or bad luck for your problems. You start asking, what can I do? How can I rise above this? This isn't easy. It requires discipline, focus, and a willingness to confront your own weaknesses. It's much easier to point fingers, to say, this person made me angry, or this situation is unbearable. But that's giving away your power. It's saying that your emotional state is dependent on things outside of you, things you can't control. And that's a dangerous place to live. Because if your peace, your happiness, your sense of self is tied to things you can't control, you're always at the mercy of the world. You're always vulnerable. But when you shift your focus inward, everything changes. Instead of trying to control others, you control how you interact with them. Instead of trying to eliminate challenges, you control how you face them. Instead of hoping for the world to be fair, you control how you respond to its unfairness. This doesn't mean you become passive, far from it. It means you become proactive. You stop reacting to life and start shaping it, starting with yourself. Imagine someone insults you. The immediate, natural reaction is to feel offended, to lash out, to defend yourself. That's a reactive mindset. It's automatic, unthinking, and ultimately disempowering. But what if instead you paused? What if you took a moment to ask yourself, why does this bother me? What does this say about them? And what does it say about me? That pause, that moment of reflection, is where control begins. It's where you decide whether to let their words dictate your emotions or to rise above them. And rising above isn't about ignoring the insult or pretending it doesn't hurt. It's about acknowledging it without letting it own you. The same principle applies to every aspect of life. When things don't go your way, you have a choice. You can dwell on what went wrong, spiral into frustration or despair, and let the situation define you, or you can ask, what can I learn from this? How can I grow? What's my next step? That's control. It's not about avoiding setbacks or pretending everything is fine. It's about facing reality head on and deciding how you'll respond to it. And here's the truth. The more you practice this, the stronger you become. Self-control is like a muscle. The more you use it, the more it grows. At first, it's hard. You'll slip up, you'll react impulsively, you'll let emotions get the better of you. But every time you catch yourself, every time you choose to pause instead of react, you're building that muscle. You're training yourself to stay grounded, even in the face of chaos. This isn't just about handling conflict or adversity, though. It's about living a life of integrity. When you control yourself, you align your actions with your values. You stop being driven by fleeting emotions or external pressures, and you start living intentionally. You become someone who can be counted on by others, yes, but more importantly, by yourself. And that's crucial because trust in yourself is the foundation of confidence, resilience, and inner peace. But let's be clear. Self-control isn't about suppressing your emotions or denying your humanity. It's not about becoming a robot void of feelings. Emotions are part of what make life rich and meaningful. The goal isn't to eliminate them, but to guide them, to ensure they serve you rather than sabotage you. Anger, for instance, isn't inherently bad. It can be a powerful motivator, a signal that something needs to change. But uncontrolled anger, anger that lashes out, that blinds you, that's destructive. The same goes for fear, sadness, even joy. When you're in control, you don't suppress these emotions. You channel them in ways that align with your goals and values. And this brings us to another critical point. Self-control is deeply connected to self-awareness. You can't control what you don't understand. If you don't know your triggers, your habits, your patterns of thought, how can you hope to master them? That's why reflection is so important. Take the time to examine yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, your fears, your desires. Be brutally honest. It's uncomfortable, yes, but it's also liberating. Because once you see yourself clearly, you can start to change. You can start to take control. The beauty of this approach is that it frees you from the endless struggle to control the uncontrollable. You stop wasting energy on things outside your influence, and you direct that energy inward, where it can actually make a difference. You become calmer, more focused, more resilient. And as you master yourself, you find that the chaos of the world doesn't affect you as much. It's still there, but it no longer has the same power over you. You've shifted the balance, you've reclaimed your autonomy, and that, in the end, is the essence of true control.